Let's Make Big Moves 2023 was the first Smash Ultimate Major of the year, and the tourney's Twitter page decided to highlight the top 16 players of the tournament on their graphic this year. But looking at the graphic, there are certainly some newcomers, some breakouts, and Joker? Today, we'll be going over the top 16 at Let's Make Big Moves, going over their brackets, their past performances, and what their placement this past weekend means for them going forward. By the way, if you like this type of video and want me to do more, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks! Starting off, Riku was the Steve main who made an insane run at a major despite not really being known by the Mass Smash community before said run at Let's Make Big Moves, and boy did Riku get people talking. However, before people start complaining about Steve on Twitter again, it's worth noting that Steve's results this tournament weren't actually as great as Riku's run might suggest. After all, there were only 2 Steve mains in top 16, and they both got 13th place. Arguably the best Steve main in North America, Onin, actually didn't even make top 16, losing to Shattuck and Enhanced PV in top 128. It's also worth noting that for basically all of the sets that Riku won, they were pretty close. A 3-2 over Syrup, a 3-2 over Gabriel, a 3-1 over Quandale Dingalingleton, a fellow Steve main who is perhaps in contention for one of the top NA Steves, and a 3-2 win over Shattuck, who was just off of 3-0ing Onin. So, is this Riku's breakout performance, or is Steve carrying? Personally, I like to think the former instead of the latter, since Let's Make Big Moves is no stranger to breakout performances. Heck, just ask Quid.
Season up, and there it is in dramatic 3-0 fashion. Your Let's Make Big Moves 2022 champion, that boy Quid!
Hey, yo!
Speaking of Steve, the other Steve main in top 16 was Jake, someone who hasn't made top 16 in an NA major since the last edition of Let's Make Big Moves, Let's Make Big Moves Miami. While Riku's bracket path was a story of close sets, Jake's seems to be the opposite. After being sent into losers by Armadillo, who had his own insane run this weekend, Jake went on a tear in losers bracket of top 128, 3-0ing Mega and Embo Z, before going on to even more impressively 3-0 both Cola and Base Mage, before winning the run back versus Armadillo in a 3-1 set. By the way, can we acknowledge that a Lucario main almost got top 16 at a major? Let me know if I should make a video highlighting his run. Jake is a player who has had sometimes inconsistent results, but his showing at this tournament against such strong players like Cola could signify a return to peak form from the Steve main who started Steve's reign of terror all the way back at Glitch Infinite. Someone call Shakespeare, because we've got a tale of 2 snakes. It's almost ironic that the 13th place spots for this tournament went to 2 Steves and 2 snakes. Kinda spooky. Better yet, both these snake players are from the Midwest, with Kronos hailing from Colorado and ApolloKage hailing from Missouri. ApolloKage has really been popping off at majors recently, so seeing him up here is no surprise. But most people were really shocked when Kronos defeated not only Meister, but Leon and then Zomba in a close Game 5 set. That is, everyone except people from Colorado, who would be the first to tell you that none of these sets were upsets. ApolloKage also continues his rise to greatness, defeating both Riku, who we talked about earlier, and Enhanced PV in solid sets to make top 16. Moving up to 9th place finishes, we have Cosmos and Debuzz, who both seem to share the same curse of being really good, but just not quite good enough. Don't get me wrong, they both did really well, with Cosmos defeating Gabriel, Ned, and Shattuck, and Debuzz beating Doorstop, Goblin, D's, and MPG, but just outside of top 8 seems to be continuously haunting these 2 players, who both consider it familiar, yet disappointing. We'll have to see if either of them can find their breakthrough in the coming year, and I for one hope that we will see them break that threshold very soon. The other 2 names in 9th place were Anathema and Jen. Anathema is, in my opinion, the best Rob main in the world at this point, if it weren't for MK Big Boss making his breakout run this tournament. We'll get to him later. Anathema definitely claimed the spot of the best NA Rob, outplacing Zomba, who was also in attendance, after beating Zomba in the Ditto at Rise and Grind last year. Jen, on the other hand, is a name that might make some people ask, who? Jen is a Palutena main who's been on a silent but definitive rise over the course of the last year, and at this tourney made a great run, culminating in his victory over Tilde, who had just suffered one of the craziest ends to a set of the year. Which just started, so that's not saying much, but it was insane, trust me. Jen also went on to defeat Jake in top 16 before falling to Riddles, which does say a lot considering Jake's good run himself. Now we're in top 8. Riddles had a great but standard run this tournament. Don't get me wrong, wins over Suarez, Chag, and Debuzz is fantastic, but I don't think anyone would consider it an upset. What's more interesting to talk about is how Riddles lost, losing 3-0 to Sonics and losers of top 8. When people ask, how do you defeat Kazuya, the most common answer is camp him out. And Sonics may have just proved that his unique Sonic and playstyle is the perfect answer to not just Kazuya, but maybe all Shotos. I mean, for God's sakes, Riddles went Roy in Game 3. Roy! That speaks volumes. MK Big Boss always seemed like that top player who never really felt like a top player, but God did that change this weekend. MKLeo's longtime friend, doubles partner, and training partner has finally made top 8 at an NA major, and I for one am very happy for him, and so is seemingly everyone else. Also, MK Big Boss defeated Anathema in Game 5 of a Rob Ditto in top 8, putting him in the forefront of the Rob mains of the world. Now, whether or not he can keep that momentum going is a tricky question, but I for one, out of the entire top 8, was most excited to see MK Big Boss among them. Does anyone feel like Gluttony kind of fell out of the public eye lately? All the talk in Europe lately has been about Bloom Forever, or Luigi, or to be honest, T. But Gluttony showed up and proved that he's definitely not washed, nor is he going anywhere. Gluttony lost to Spargo, which most of us saw coming, and Sonics, who was having an amazing run this weekend. There's not much to say over Gluto's run, except for RIP Tilde.
He has waft, but he is off stage, and this is Tilde's ledge trap. No way! No way!
I would argue that Light is the most consistent top 8 player of all time. Now, if MKLeo or Spargo or Tweak are attending, of course they're gonna go far, but in terms of players just a little bit below that echelon, Light will always claw his way into top 8. 2022 ended in a bit of a slump for Light, but this strong performance to start off 2023 is a good omen for this Foxman. The Joker is back. MKLeo went mostly Joker at LMBM this past weekend, and how did it go? Well, he got 4th place. MKLeo has been in a bit of a slump at the end of 2022, and now in the beginning of 2023, with many beginning to question his GOAT status, and his reign of terror may be coming to an end soon. However, do you remember the last time we doubted Leo? Because I do. It was right before the Ludwig Invitational.
Here, one iron left, but the scoop.
There it is. The king returns to the top of the mountain and claims the crown at the Ludwig Smash Invitational for Ultimate.
The big question on everyone's mind now is Leo going to adapt, or is he going to fall behind? Also, the Joker made its return in this tournament, and I'd argue that rust in that character may have played a factor in this result. Either way, Leo has promised on Twitter to adapt and improve, and I for one have no reason to doubt him. Sonics had, arguably, the best performance of the tournament. While Spargo and Tweak may have gotten top 2 spots, most people expected them to get at least top 3. Sonics, on the other hand, his appearance in 3rd, and even more so his victory over Leo, came as a huge surprise. Many people detest Sonic and the character's playstyle, but I for one am always impressed when a character like Sonic is able to be pulled off in such a competitive setting. I look forward to seeing more from Sonics. The top 2 of LMBM this weekend were the prestigious Spargo and the return of Tweak. These two have been in the grands of almost every major in the tail end of 2022, with Spargo winning both of their last 2 encounters. When Tweak said on Twitter he'd figure out Spargo eventually, no one expected it to be this soon. 2023 has opened with Tweak finally taking a W over Spargo, probably the most massive win for North America versus Mexico in, well, ever. Will Tweak continue this in future tournaments, or will Spargo reclaim Mexico's spot in the apex of Smash Bros. Ultimate? Only time will tell, and I for one am at the edge of my seat. Genesis is the next major coming up, and we'll be ready to have content lined up before that tournament, going over seeding, players to look out for, and other topics. In the meantime, what parts about LMBM should I cover next? Perhaps a look into Armadillo making what may be Lucario's best ever recent performance? The craziness that was doubles bracket? You be sure to let me know, and please, have a good day.